Okay, so this is just going over the EOS to NEX adapter. As you can see, there's no glass element in the middle, and the FD to NEX adapter. And I had to actually buy 3 of these, or 2 of them, and I got 1 extra. And here is a micro four thirds to NEX adapter, and it's the only one that I can find on the entire internet. Alright, so as you can see, these are the 3 I mentioned earlier. One worked fine, as you can see here, but one of them is backwards, where the on or the open and lock switch is it's opposite on one of the other ones. And you see that nub is where you place the lens to get mounted. It doesn't have an actual marking on it. So when you click it on, you can see, well, you have to turn it in order to, with the FD lenses, it has like a little hinge that you have to activate in order for the aperture blades to work. So there it goes now, and it's working. And this is what it looks like when it's mounted. And I really like how these FD lenses look. A lot of people think I have a rangefinder when I'm out and about. And this is the other one, the second one. I believe this is the one that actually has the open and lock twisting part backwards. And this is the one that's actually was faulty, and they let me keep it, and they just sent me an extra one. And it works fine. The only problem is that, well, you'll see in a second when I actually mount it. So if you look at it, it's upside down, and the aperture and the open and close is actually on the bottom. It's not even directly on the bottom, it's just a little to the side on the bottom. So, but it still works though, so I'll still use it. And this is the EOS EF lens, I'm sorry, to the NEX. And all these adapters are built pretty solid. And this hinge release right there is pretty easy to use. And this is what it looks like mounted. The only thing with the EF lens is there is no manual aperture control like a FD lens. So what you basically have to do is unmount it and then mount it to a Canon body. Not all Canon bodies have a depth of field preview button, but my particular Canon body does. So as you can see here, you'll see it's at aperture 1.2. So I'll change it to something a little more obvious so you can actually see that the blades have closed a little more. So you have to push the depth of field preview button. And if you see when I push it, you can actually see that the actual aperture blades are opening and closing. So you hold it down, and at the same time you release the lens while the camera is still on. Then you want to go ahead and turn your camera off and cover it up to make sure you don't get too much dust in your body. Put that to the side. And now you can see that the lens has actually changed its aperture setting. And now you can go ahead and put the adapter on and put it on your camera. So this way, if you know what you're shooting already and what aperture you'd like to shoot at, you can do this. But for run and gun, and if you needed to keep changing it, I don't recommend using these lenses with that. Now, this is the one I said was the most interesting, because on the internet you have multiple varieties of the other adapters, but this particular one is the only one I could find. And if you look real close, these 2 screws are the problem. I removed one right there, and I had to in order to even use it at all. And as you can see, one of the screws, or both of them more so than the other, so I removed the other. But if you look, it protrudes from, it's not flush basically. So when I take off the lens of this micro four thirds lens, or the cap I mean, you'll see towards the back of the body right here, it's made out of metal underneath, and it scratches the actual body. And let me just show you how it is when I mount it. All you gotta do is basically match up the red dots to the red dot, and you'll see the screw right there I'm pointing at, how it actually digs into the actual metal when you're trying to mount it on there. So there you go, just line it up. And if you take a look really close, if you can see it in the camera's view, you can see how the edge of the screw is actually cutting right into the lens right there. And it's actually digging the paint off. And there's the release right there. You just lift that tab up and you can twist it to the left. And here it is mounted to the actual camera. And other than that, it works fine. But as you'll see when I take the lens off, the biggest issue I have is it's scraping the actual metal. And when it does, it actually does leave debris, and the last thing you want is some of that metal debris to fall into the lens or the sensor to your actual camera body. So as you look, like, you probably can't see it on the actual camera, but if you wipe your finger across the edge, you'll have a little bit of dust or metal dust on your actual fingers, especially around the lens area right here. And I don't think you can probably pick that up on the actual screen. But if you don't pay attention, that could easily fall into your sensor or the actual lens itself, and that's never good. So make sure you always wipe it if you do get this lens adapter. And sad to say, it's literally the only one that you can get out there. But other than that, I still like the fact that I can use that lens on this body, and everything that I purchased thus far, I pretty much try to future proof everything that I'm doing. So I'm not just buying a whole bunch of lenses or a whole bunch of whatever it is, and it can only be used on one particular body. So if I get a GH4, I'll be able to adapt all these lenses to, the same lenses that I'm using with my Micro Four Thirds for the Blackmagic pocket camera. If I end up getting a cinema camera, I can go ahead and do the same thing. So it's always good to think ahead if you're not really sure where you're trying to go with certain things. And I'm a hands-on person, so sometimes I really don't know what I want until after I actually have it in my hand. So if you have any questions about anything else, just let me know. And check out my other video I'll be posting soon. It's going to be the FD to Micro Four Thirds and EF to Micro Four Thirds also. So thank you. Talk to you later.